there's all kinds of little polka dots.
Space is fake AF. Space is fake AF.
There's more than stars. You can see planets. You can see moons.
You see the gas.
Puppet don't let it. Said the sky was not the limit. We fly to the moon in a nanosecond, but we haven't been back since 1972. Destroyed all the papers and blew up the Challenger crew, except for the twinsies. Space is fake AF. Space is fake AF.
Look out into deep space away from the sun. It's the darkest night you can imagine.
Hey, space boy, you broke my rocket man heart. Where are the stars? Is it bright or is it dark? The vacuum of space, oh, the tomfoolery.
What happens if you get a leak on that? You have a leak.
Debunk my bubble.
It's hard to comprehend.
Space is fake AF.
Two little bitty O-rings.
Space is fake AF.
It's not what you think, homeboy.
Space is fake AF.
It's all just start doing it.
Space is fake AF.
Research Eddie Bravo.
All right, thank you for joining. It's the 16th, and the first thing I want to talk about is this mouse gate, which isn't going away. We're not going to let it go. I've been actually getting into back and forth between Red's Rhetoric, Leica Gagarin, who may be related to the astronaut, and of course I'm being spied upon by SpaceX via their security director, who follows me on Twitter. And I only have like 20 followers. Like, this is new. So look at this. This is Red's Rhetoric. He says, look at this flat earther in his natural habitat losing his mind over a piece of ice. And all I said was, that's an amazing ice sculpture. Why doesn't Elon take credit for it? It's a science art miracle. Which it is. And what we're talking about is this. We're talking about a mouse on the outside of the SpaceX rocket. So it's been decided that, and this is according to the scientists, that we're looking at ice, which I'm fine with. I'm agreeing with you, Red's Rhetoric. It's ice. But it's ice in the shape of a mouse. It has a Mickey Mouse head. It looks like a gremlin mouse. Breakaway Civilization said, I tried tagging you on Instagram and they blocked my comment. Hey, if you didn't know, InfinitePlaneSociety.com and InfinitePlaneRadio.com are both banned on Facebook and Instagram. You cannot link Infinite Plane Society on Facebook. That's how controlled it is. I think we've been banned for about a year and a half. And the thing is, I never actually had an account called Infinite Plane Society. My account's called Tim Osmond, but they banned my website. And that's Instagram too. So what are they policing? You know, who are they trying to protect? Obviously, they don't want people listening to me. There you go. That is a mouse. I mean, you can call it ice. I'm calling it ice. And here's what I'm saying, Reds. We're looking at a random bit of matter formed into the shape of a mouse that moves like a mouse on the rocket on a mission where a mouse was being sent to the space station. So to deride that as pareidolia is kind of dismissive. And then I want to draw your attention to this. NASA has been pointing at various things in outer space that look like, well, let's start with this one. We got the blunt. There's a skull asteroid, which happens to come by every Halloween. You've all seen this. There's a snowman asteroid, which is shaped like Olaf, the character from Frozen, and this one makes its appearance on, well, it was last Christmas. Then you have the ravioli asteroid. Cassini returns images of a ravioli. So what I'm saying here is that the people at NASA and the NASA fanboys, oh look, Mimas, the moon of Saturn looks like the Death Star. You got the face of the dog Pluto on the planet Pluto. So every time you see some amazing space art, it's like you see shapes in the clouds. Hey look, that looks like if you saw a face in the cloud above you and it looked like someone very recognizable, you could take a picture and it would go viral because people do recognize that you do see shapes in random things, and it's noteworthy. So let's say, for example, you saw a cloud in the shape of a mouse, and you took a picture. It's only slightly amazing, because it's only going to look like a mouse from where you are. But if that mouse in the clouds started running, and if you did a time lapse, and if during the time lapse the mouse had actually apparently walked over a mountain, you would say, okay, well, that's a moving cloud sculpture. It's completely amazing, praise God. Or whoever you think is responsible for magic. So in this case, we have a rocket at Mach 8 in outer space. It's 11 billion degrees. It's so hot. And you have this mouse on top, or rather an ice sculpture in the shape of a mouse that actually walks. How come that's not amazing? If I was Elon Musk, I would put this on the front page of my site and I would say, hey, look at this anomaly. On the Mighty Mouse mission of December 5th, CRS-19, we were sending genetically modified mice to the space station, and a piece of ice on the outside of the rocket formed into the shape of a mouse and it walked. That's amazing. And yet they call me mentally ill for saying it. It's like, no, this is not pareidolia. And you know who else says pareidolia? Belu from Globebusters. And they all agreed, Jaren too. They're like, yeah, that's actually just your mind playing tricks on you. No, if it's shaped like a mouse and it walks like a mouse, it's an object shaped like a mouse. Like, they're engaging in denial. It is denial to say that a cloud shaped like a mouse isn't a cloud shaped like a mouse. I'm not saying it's a mouse. You're like, no, dummy, that's not a mouse, it's a cloud. Well, obviously, that's up there. Mice are down here. Like, we're not troubled, Red's rhetoric. We're not challenged in any way here. You're the one who's reality challenged, and it's pathetic and it's funny. So keep it up. Every single day that these individuals tweet me back and say that I have some type of mental condition that causes me to see things, I'm going to return with more mentions of the Mousegate phenomenon. So here's another launch I sent to them. I said, okay, let's grant you that. It's ice that formed into the shape of a mouse, and we're dumb for calling it out. Okay, I'm dumb. I got an IQ of 33. We can all agree I'm dumb. Well, what are you going to say to this, Reds? This is a second video with another piece of ice shaped like a mouse that moves like a mouse. And this one doesn't just slide down. You see the ears and the long nose? It actually lingers. It steps back. It moves forward. The head tilts up and then it rolls back. It turns around and it even has a tail. So this is a very mousy piece of ice. A second miracle in a row. Comment on it, Reds. Why don't you tell us? Well, yes, you guys are mentally ill for noticing this shape, this ice shaped like a mouse twice in a row. I mean, he can't really be that dumb. And it moves backwards. It backs up. Like, it got spotted. It didn't know that the camera was rolling or something, but it happened twice. And this is one of the reasons why I focused on the first one, I wanted these guys to give them enough rope to hang themselves. It's like, let's give them everything they need to show if they know what they're talking about. I mean, here's what Jaron said. For me, it's not a rat. For me, it's not a rat. There are constant white things that fly off. That's what Jaron said. For me, it's not a rat. Well, for me, that's not a ravioli. That's a space rock shaped like one. And our question isn't, is it a ravioli? It's, does it look like a damn ravioli? Same thing here. We're not saying, Jaron, is it a mouse? We're saying, is it shaped like a damn mouse? And my question is, are you honest enough with your own eyes to admit when you see something that is shaped like something that shouldn't be where it is? Anywhere else, they would have said it's a mouse. If someone said, "Hey, look, this image is from your basement. We think you might have an infestation," he wouldn't say, "Well, that's just white stuff. That's just pareidolia." He'd be like, "Well, it looks like a mouse." So let's continue. Bob said, "I don't know. Those ears, very pronounced like Mickey Mouse, and the oscillation of the body like a mouse." See, that's a little bit of honesty. So then, Bilu jumps in to say, "It's pareidolia, and I also see a cat looking left with its mouth wide open." So I was wondering, why are these bozos trying to play it off? So I brought up the second video because you can play off that first one, but your excuses don't work twice. Linda Curtis says, "Is Jaron saying the rocket is real?" Well, he's being ambiguous. And here's the reason why I dragged him into it, is that he and Bob fake ISS transits, and those are faked. And their ISS transits look faker than this mouse. So I knew this would be problematic for them. And I also predicted that since they're obviously being used to protect the space station, controlled opposition, they look like they're attacking it. They're not. Since they're protecting the space station, I said, there's no way they're going to draw attention to the mouse with their big channels. Because if a lot of people look at this, they'll see the big picture. And they'll say, whoa, there's room for doubt. This might not be in space. And they might notice, as others have, that when you're not looking at the mouse, the rest of the thing looks fake as hell. So there are all sorts of problems with this. But I knew that Glowbusters wouldn't get behind Mousegate. Anyone who doesn't support Mousegate is a shill. It's not pareidolia. I just find it unusual. Well, I don't, but you should. You should find it unusual that Bob and Glowbusters are on the same side of the fence as Red's rhetoric on Mousegate. Pareidolia. They are on the same side of the fence. Not your side, the other one. Okay, let's get into Max. Although I do have to say, look, it looks to me like Leica Gagarin is still defending Mousegate, accusing me of butthurt. And honestly, I'm not hurt. I'm not bothered by it. I'm just saying, why aren't you more mystified? If somebody threw a snowball and it formed itself into we'll just say a parakeet. So you threw a snowball, it turns into a parakeet, and then the wings flap before it hits the ground. You wouldn't say, hey dummy, of course it's not a bird, it melted. And that's what they're saying. Of course it's not a mouse, it melted. It's like, no, I'm just saying it's an amazing formation it's an animated formation. Will you not please acknowledge how beautiful it is? And he won't. He won't. Year of the Rat. So what I'm describing here, though, is reality denial. Somebody says, Mousegate shirt, please. We probably should. I really think we probably should.
Hi, folks.
Okay, let's move into this next piece. So Max Igan, I called this out yesterday. I said it was probably an act. So here's what he came down with yesterday. He disappeared for 4 days, or 3 days, leading many people to think that he had burned to death in the fires rescuing koalas, that he had almost made it out and then wildcats took him out because they smelled him, his scar tissue or something. He had this harrowing story or so, of how he barely made it through these 3 days. Had nothing to do with the fire. Turns out a beam of light zapped him in the head. He got all 13 flat earth clues downloaded at once, plus all the Mandela effects all at once. So this beam of light that came from above apparently really just took him for a ride. So he starts off quoting Bill Cooper, but he calls him Bill Hicks, and says, "When you tell the truth, you piss everyone off." And he broke it down. He said, "Weather is controlled, wars are real, parasites control the world, they're called archons, Earth is enclosed, there is a dome, the flat earthers are right, Hyperborea is where the white people came from." He flashes his hands briefly, and he has a swastika on his left hand, and I think that's a Palestinian flag, and a UFO head. So this is Max Igan giving the Masonic grand hailing sign of distress. So yes, Earth is flat, there is a dome according to Max Igan. Tartaria is real. The world gets mud flooded once in a while. The findings of Mud Flood University are legit. So Mud Fossil University believes that our world is actually the body of a giant. And to support this, they will find rock formations that look like things. This is pareidolia. Because they're saying that this isn't a rock that looks like a mouse. That's literally a mouse that turned into a rock. That's kind of how they go with it. He says no forest on flat Earth is legit. No forest on flat Earth is the theory that mountains are actually tree stumps from formerly giant trees, and that tree stumps are miniature mountains. That's an interesting one. He said Alex Jones is a biological robot. So he doesn't know about Bill Hicks. But Alex Jones is a biological robot, meaning he's some type of cyborg, a non-playing character with a persona that goes into it and controls it from somewhere else. And then he said, quoting Jim Morrison, "No one gets out of here alive." So that's where he was yesterday, coming out of a psychosis, and he sounded crazy. He really did. So then he comes back today. Commenter says, "How do you explain alien abductions?" Easy. Lies. How do you explain Bigfoot sightings? Cognitive bias. Lies. I mean, you could call them maybe white lies, but no, these are people who are telling lies in order to give their beliefs a little more substance, and usually for attention. Anyone who says that they've been abducted by an alien has a huge burden of proof, and no one has ever met that. So, no, alien abductions are fake. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see what Richie from Boston, though, came out today. See, what Max did was he came back out today with a second video, and he apologized more or less for how crazy he sounded. So now he's not crazy anymore. And he says here's a more coherent explanation. And he goes on to explain here how what you heard before was a man who had just been exposed to his ancestral memory. He saw all of time at once, and he's been given all the mysteries of the universe. But oddly enough, he comes to this conclusion that the Earth is both a globe and flat.
And having all my ancestral history flash before my eyes and everything, and then trying to deal with an experience that I've never had before. It was the most bizarre experience. As I said when I was talking, and if I'm looking over to the left, folks, it's not a conspiracy.
Okay, let me move forward a little bit. And then, of course, he makes this other bizarre comment in the comments below. He actually describes how he says, "Something else I want to mention. With deepfake tech, they could have me deepfaked, proclaiming to be a flat earther who thinks he's the second coming. If you see me making these claims, you should know I've been replaced. I'm writing this here below because I didn't want to say it in the video." So he's leaving it open to the idea that you might be looking at a deepfake.
This wasn't the voice of God or anything. This was technology, So this was a really, really bizarre experience that I had. And then I started having these massive downloads of all of this stuff. And this is going on for like 3 days or something, and it's taken me 5 or 6 days to even process it. And I figured out the puzzle, how it works, and what a trap all of this has been. And that's why I called this video The Truth Trap, because that's really what it's been.
Okay,
and I said on that other...
So the part I want to find, though, is where he talks about his conclusions about the flat Earth, because when he said enclosed and dome, and he didn't explain how he arrived at it, I figured it was just going to be some wishy-washy new agey stuff, new age sewage, and that's what it is.
My ride. There's a chance I might have missed my ride. And now that I've had a chance to process things, I'm kind of glad I missed that ride because I figured out what that ride was. But what I said, the truth is the Earth is flat. Now,
Here we go. The Earth is flat,
something that I've always said
but, and here's where it gets a little hard to comprehend. Maybe we're not at his level yet. I haven't been given the upgrade.
during my broadcasts is that truth is subjective, depending on what you want to believe. I mean,
Truth is subjective depending on what you want to believe. You see that? That's what they do. They overshoot it. When you're saying the earth is flat, you're not saying that truth is subjective. You're saying that you've been fed a lot of misinformation, misconceptions, and lies, and you want to find out what the facts are. You're comparing the reported facts to objective reality. He is saying, no, reality itself is completely subjective. Truth is subjective, and if you believe it's a ball, it's a ball. If you believe it's flat, it's flat. And so he lives on a flat globe.
said that truth is the Earth is flat because I wanted to get everybody's attention. I want to get the attention of the flat earthers, the globe earthers, and the entire truth community because I think you need to hear this. It's an important message. And I'm going to be reading something to you as well because it's important. You need to look at this and you need to think about this, folks. And that's all I'm asking is that you think about what I'm saying. Because as Bill Cooper said, and I said Bill Hicks last time, but as Bill Cooper said, when you tell the truth, you piss everyone off. And I'm kind of pissed off as well now I've figured out the truth about what we're doing and what I've been involved with the truth movement and what this really is. And hopefully I can put this together in some sort of a coherent form that you'll understand it, folks, because I tell you, I've been processing a lot of stuff.
Okay, so he's still
But I figured out
processing it.
how it all...
But this is where he gets into the flat globe paradox, where it's simultaneously both. And this reminds me quite a lot of David Icke. Someone said, hey, David Icke, is the earth flat? And he said, yes. But it could also be a cube, but it's also a simulation, so it is whatever you believe it is.
all works. And the reason I use game when I say game is because that's the way they play it. They play the destruction of worlds like a game, and that's what they're doing. But anyway, let me see if I've got to edit here. If I've got to stop sometimes and think, I'll put a couple of edits in, but I try not to edit in these videos. But like I said, I've often said on the show, truth is subjective depending on what you want to believe. And
This is the part, and I'm not going to go much further than this. Truth is subjective. This is what the Mandela effect also believe. And by the way, the Mandela effect might actually be on the decline. I don't think it's going to survive 2020. The effect was pitched 3 times in a row. Once to Crow 77777, and then it was pitched over to Nathan Thompson, and then to Russian Vids. Russian Vids said Mandela effect is a psyop. Nathan Thompson said it's a satanic psyop because God's word never changes. And Crow 77777 said it's a trick, a magic trick. 3 people were pitched the Mandela effect, and they all rejected it. So the flat earth community, the ones with the Bible in hand, the Nathan Thompson side of it, they're not going to be affected. And I'm wondering, what is this going to mean? Are the Mandela affected going to be like radical jihadis for their cause now? Are they going to see us all as enemies? Or are they going to back down? Commenter says, is Max Igan using your game acronym? He could be. I doubt it. He didn't say it as an acronym, so... But it is a really apt description. Let's continue. I want to hear his globe flat explanation.
belief is the enemy of knowledge. These are
Wait, belief is the enemy of knowledge. He stole that from Crow.
2 really important things. And something else I've always said is that you can have no stake in the outcome. So a lot of the stuff that I've said in the shows, I've known it to be true, but but I've never really known why I said it and known the significance of why I've been saying that. But now I do. A lot of things have been made clear for me. But how can you have a globe, and how can you have a flat, and how can you have a holographic universe? Because that's the reality. The globe universe, or the globe Earth, the flat Earth, the holographic universe, the fractal universe, the electric universe, they all fit together, and they all coexist at the same time.
So there you have it. It's holographic, so it's flat, it's round, it's holographically, malleable. So if you want to believe it to be flat, it's flat. It's totally subjective. Someone said, is that a Palestine flag? Yeah, he's got a Palestinian flag and he's got a swastika on his hand.
I'm going to try to explain to you how that works at the moment. The Earth that we live on is a globe. It's a beautiful globe, Earth.
So there you go. He kind of backtracked. The Earth that we walk on is a globe. But what he's saying is that if you're crazy enough and you embrace pure subjectivity, it can be shaped like a banana.
It's a beautiful globe, Earth. But the Earth that we operate on is also flat, and I'm going to try to explain this to you, how it works, because again, it depends on what you believe. Belief is subjective. Truth is subjective depending on what you want to believe. And you can have two truths. It depends on what your belief system is. And it looks at how virtual reality is created as well. I mean, we think it's going to be all these computers we build and they're going to train.
So there you have it. There's not much else you can take from it. He crossed the line into pure subjectivity. In fact, he ought to just go full Mandela effect. Go past flat Earth. Go to the next level. Some of the commenters here are not pleased. Actually, most of them are not pleased. Many of the people here were worried about him. But Richie from Boston, in particular, had something to say. He said, wow, so much information in such a short time, Max. Cut off your internet connection and walk away. Richie from Boston, which, it sounds like friendly advice. Cut off your internet connection and walk away. Well, Richie from Boston is the guy who claims that your electric boards are satanic demonic sigils and that your TV is a black mirror and that every time you interact with your smartphone, you're summoning a demon. So if anyone should be unplugging his stuff, it's Richie, who should also put down the vape. He's already worried about chemtrails. He's been studying them for years. Yet he's like blind to the dangers of vaping. So that's pretty much all you really need to know. The Crow House kind of jumped the shark with a fake psychosis, a fake awakening. What's his name? David Icke did the same thing. What Icke did was he went out to Peru and he said he took a bunch of ayahuasca. And then the goddess spoke to him and beamed down his ancestral memories. And then he came back with these new truths where everything's an illusion. So at the end of the road for the truther, Leary, Icke, even this guy now, if you go deep enough, you go past the truth, you realize there is no truth. It's all just an illusion. It's all a hologram. It's such a cop-out. Not a truther if you're a subjectivist. And when it comes to Mud Fossil University, look, I'm open to the idea that history has been rewritten and possibly even physically buried. But to look at a mountain and say, well, that's shaped like a mountain, therefore a giant died there, like that makes no sense. That makes zero sense. But this is being posited, and so you see one angle. I guarantee if you went to the other side, it wouldn't look like a giant. It wouldn't look like a big face. And this type of subjectivism is just madness. Yesterday we spent a great deal of time on this, and I'm going to go deeper into it. So the more we look at it, the more it seems like Alex Jones was in fact deep faking as that rotund guy with the top hat at the Flat Earth Conference. And we'll get into that later. We're going to get some more pictures. I'm waiting for KMB to do a piece on it. But yeah, Alex Jones put on a hideous mask, wig, bodysuit, and he trolled the Flat Earth Conference for Jimmy Kimmel, of all things. We have a lot of new research on the matter, which I'll be going into later today. I'm not 100% on it. I'm like 99.9% though. Like there's quite a lot there to go through. So I was just doing some research into Jones and his past, and we found many examples of him playing characters similar to the one that we think he was playing at the Flat Earth Conference. And if we can prove that's him, if we can demonstrate that Alex Jones was wearing that rotund costume with the top hat, playing dumb for Jimmy Kimmel,
oh, it's over there. And then she was like, I can't believe it.
It might be something. It could be a big story. I can imagine a lot of people interested in covering it because it's either a hilarious joke or it's some type of an operation where it's hilarious but not to us because we're not on the. I mean, you know how funny it would be for Jimmy Kimmel if he's in on it. But here's Alex Jones showing you some of his acting skills.
We're pathetic. And I just did it as a psychological test. I kind of went, ugh, and they got real happy when I acted like I was a fluoride head, and I acted mentally retarded. Acted like I was a fluoride head, and I acted mentally retarded. And they got real happy when I acted like I was.
So he can do quite a lot. Someone says, damn, that looks like Bill Hicks. Oh, yeah. Well, Bill Hicks is just the tip of the iceberg. So we got this individual who plays characters, and we have more examples. I have a reel here where he goes through a number of his voices. And of course, we found Alex Jones already knows Jake Bird, which is very, very interesting. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow's bit of damage control when Russian Vids is going to be talking to Roland Reddy for about a couple hours about Jake Bird. I mean, you know how bad it is? It's so bad that Jake Bird is going to be discussed by Russian Vids and Rick Hummer because Jake Bird made us look dumb. And Rick Hummer is the guy who used to play and still plays Roland Reddy, who is a dumb flat earther with big buck teeth. Hey, look, Alex Jones calls himself the guy with 1,000 names. So this is a pattern, is what I'm saying here. We got a pattern of shills and actors and really just takedowns in the eyes of the MSM. And this character might be the key to exposing a great deal of it. We could expose a great deal of this. This is what they're trying to hide with stupid stories about MK Ultra and clones and Pizzagate even. I think they're trying to hide this. Mass media manipulation by shepherds and controlled opposition agents. Let's see, Wide Awake says maybe it's his brother. Anybody who says maybe it's a brother, maybe it's a clone, is totally off base. Again, Mousegate's continuing to explode here, especially on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter and you're talking about it, you should put Mousegate in your hashtags and just take a look. And Red's rhetoric is at the front lines here. I think he must have sent me about 20 or 30 tweets this morning. So if you're not on Twitter, it's Infinite Planer. The Frog King is Bear says, I watched the Kimmy video on Flat Earth and the people there were normal. The only one acting crazy was the guy doing his skit. Yeah, not only was the only person acting crazy the one on the skit, but nobody knows who he is. I mean, how bizarre is that? You have people who've been in this topic for 5 years. They go to the conferences. They're heavily involved in it. And the ones put in front to represent them are completely unknown. So we're going to do a detailed piece on that later. I do have some other things to do right now. Otherwise, I would go into it now. But I'm probably going to do it in Zoom because I really want to make sure that we go into close detail, maybe even spend a couple of hours on the Alex Jones thing. And then there's something else I'm going to be discussing tonight, and it has to do with the character, the Joker, and how it ties into the fires within the meta script. Many interesting correlations and, quote, coincidences. Just want to update everybody on this thing with Max Igan's fake breakdown / awakening. Totally fake. He's been more or less called out on it. He admits more or less that it was fake. It wasn't a real thing. And so I'll see you all later. And we may actually do some cringe rap coverage later. So, just for now, I'm going to leave you with Dr. Zach Decimal Z, courtesy of T versus Tree. And hopefully later on today we'll have a new hit from Rod.
His name isn't Dr. Zach anymore. You want to know what his freaking new name is?
This channel was made 8 years ago. It was named Mr. Z to the O. Zach had to go because he didn't have a goal. 4 years later, he had to come back. He changed the name to Dr. Zach. Not to deceive you, you maniac, but to flat smack the ball Todd clack. Anybody who truly knows Zach knows he can never be a crack, but the freaking hacks keep conspiring behind his back. But he's always on track, even though they put him in an angle of attack. He'll attack back till you get the F back. Zach got the skills that you lack. You control, you can shill or affront, you can diss or abuse or refuse or disgrace. You could chase him, you'll always get slapped on the face in till you go back to your grave in. You'll curse the cult you embracing. That's the fact that we enhance. His new name is Decimal Z. From now on, that's all you're gonna see. Decimal Z, 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 Decimal Z. Decimal Z, Decimal Z, Decimal Z, Decimal Z, Decimal Z, Decimal Z, Decimal Z.